Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about social isolation. I feel like that's a really big problem, and I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about that right now. And these are really just my personal opinions of what I think and what I see going on around us right now. As well as I just want to make sure that you know I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm not saying that I am, and I'm not a medical team, and I don't have all the medical answers. And I just want to make sure that y'all know that some of these are facts that I'm going to show in here, but as well as I'm going to show you some of my opinions. Okay? So first, let's define what is social isolation. Social isolation can be defined as a state or process in which a person, groups, or cultures lose or do not have communication or cooperation with one another, often resulting in an open conflict. I made this channel so that people can have a sense of hope, and they can feel like they have a voice, and they can feel like they can talk to people, no matter if it's throughout the comments, as well as we can just talk as individuals and just help one another, no matter what difficulties they're dealing with, whether it's anxiety, mental depression, or anything having to do with mental health. And I just want to encourage everybody that no matter what, you can make it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, if you are dealing with mental health issues and you need some type of help, call this number 1-800-273-8255 and they can help you. One of the things I found very interesting was that in the suicide and help hotline in Los Angeles, there's a 8,000% increase of callers. Here is Dr. Steven Shapiro, Chief Medical Officer in Pittsburgh. And one of the things he was doing is he was talking to the news media in Pittsburgh about how social isolation affected people. Here's what he had to say. We are concerned that the longer we do social isolation, we're already seeing the mental health consequences of loneliness and economic devastation is going to add to it. I think originally with the pandemic going on, that social distancing was supposed to help, so that way the virus spreads very slowly as well as spreading so it doesn't spread fast. I think sometimes we need to take into consideration though that social isolation can be a side effect of what's going on, because maybe they didn't do enough research to look in and say, you know what, maybe we need to provide people with the proper help that they need, because this might affect them financially as well as mentally. It might even affect you spiritually. And some of the side effects of social isolation is that it can cause depression. And if you're depressed, you're not able to function. You might think about a lot of negative things instead of thinking about positive things. And it's understandable. Right now we have a big problem going on, and we as people, we need to try to communicate with one another. I'm a firm believer that we as people were created to be social people. We were created to help the world and help the environment around us. And I truly believe that we need to talk to one another. And that may not be the most traditional way, as well as going outside and seeing one another, although I love to do that. You may want to try to call somebody on the phone. Maybe you need to call your grandmother and see how she's doing. Maybe you need to call your mom and see how she's doing. Or maybe you need to call your dad. Sometimes if we just call our family members and check on them, it really helps them out, because we're able to see how they're doing and how they're feeling, because we never really know what people are going through. And throughout this social isolation, sometimes it also causes people to be lonely, and they feel like there's nobody there around them and there's nobody there to talk to. And that's why maybe they need to do Zoom, or maybe they need to do some type of Bible study. I know a lot of people that have pets, they have dogs and they have cats, but they tell me themselves that they get lonely. Yeah, they have animals, but maybe they don't have a daughter, or maybe they don't have a sister. And I was just talking to a lady about that the other day, and she's nice and she has a lot to talk about, but she tells me sometimes she gets lonely because it's just her at the house. And maybe you need to check on that next door neighbor. You know, sometimes you don't see them coming outside, but just go knock on their door. I'm not saying you have to go inside, but just ask them how they're doing. Some of the other side effects of social isolation is it can cause high blood pressure. When you have high blood pressure, you're not able to always to function at the maximum capacity that you maybe want to. Social isolation can also cause you to go into severe anxiety attacks, and you may have an anxiety attack and have to go to the hospital. And that's unfortunate because we're supposed to be doing social distancing, but at the same time, sometimes we might be causing more harm than we are helping people. And that's something we all need to do, is just look out for one another and see how one another is doing. Maybe you need to text them. It could be a lot of different things that you can do. Maybe you need to get creative and have a Bible study within your community, and you don't have to touch them. Maybe you can do 6 feet apart and have Bible study with one another and just talk and do some type of fellowship and eat and just love one another. But I just want you to know that no matter what the situation is, that social isolation is not going to last forever, and that there's people out there that love you and that they care about you, and that no matter what, everybody can help one another. One person can help another, and another person can help one another. And sometimes social isolation can cause people to have dementia too, and the older adults. And sometimes you need to talk to them, or maybe they need to read some type of book, that way they can have their minds stimulated. It's just very important that throughout this time, we try to see if we can speed up the process. That way we don't have to be stuck at home in a box or in a bubble. Because social isolation, it's not always a healthy thing to do. And no matter what, we can just help one another, and no matter what we're going through. And it's not only that, one of the things I want to share with you is they have things going on around the world too, as well as it causes an increase in people having suicidal thoughts. I was reading this article, and here I'll share it with you. It's about Australia. Here in Australia, you can see that the news is forecasting that there's going to be a 50% increase as far as the suicides. So you can see it also affects states like Michigan, as well as it affects states like Pennsylvania. So it's not only just around the world, it's also in America. Isolation was meant to be help the people who are sick during this time. And sometimes people just suffer from social isolation, and that's understandable. But what I want you to know is that let's just encourage one another, and no matter what the situation is, we can all help one another. And I know y'all like this video, so just go ahead and give me a huge thumbs up. Leave me some comments. What do y'all think? Do you think social isolation helps people out? Do you think it doesn't help people out? And what are y'all doing during this time? Are y'all knocking on your neighbor's door? Y'all going to the pool? What y'all doing? Y'all going to the beach? So yeah, let's just talk. Let's see. What does everybody think? Let's get some opinions. So leave a comment below. And remember, give me a huge thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.